Hello everyone, Neil Patel here. Thank you for downloading the latest episode of the Indian Startup Show. So today I speak to Rajiv Talreja. He's India's leading business coach and is the author of an international bestseller called Lead or Bleed. It's how entrepreneurs and corporate leaders can stop firefighting and start accelerating performance and profits. So in this exciting episode, you will learn how to stand out from the crowd, the mistakes entrepreneurs make, and why the customer is not the king, and much, much more. So please enjoy the show. Thank you. Hello, Rajiv. Thank you for coming to the Indian Startup Show today.
Thank you for having me on the show, Neil.
Please tell listeners what you do.
I'm a business coach, and I always tell people that I get paid actually to learn from people.
Okay.
So that's the way I look at the work that I do.
Excellent. And how things are going? And what do you actually offer as well?
Pretty good. So I work predominantly with the small and medium enterprises space. 50% of the businesses that I work with are micro enterprises where their team sizes are anywhere between 2 people to 30 people. And say about 35% of the entrepreneurs that I work with to help them scale up their business are people who are in the SME space who are more than 30, 40 people all the way up to 1,000 people. So I focus on this segment of entrepreneurs. So some of them are tech, most of them are non-tech, traditional businesses. So it's a pretty interesting space to work with because these guys are very profit conscious, but they're not able to scale up their business. So we help them scale their business.
And how long have you been doing this?
So I started as a trainer and a coach 12 years ago, but that was largely focused on corporate coaching and corporate training. So we used to work with large brands and take up team coaching assignments. But I moved towards the entrepreneur space in 2016. So I would say from 2016 to now is where we've been predominantly focusing on the entrepreneur space.
Sounds amazing. Let's go back to the start then, the very, very start of your entrepreneurial journey. How did it all start? What was the light bulb moment for you?
Well, for me, I always say this, that I'm not an entrepreneur by choice. I'm an entrepreneur by force. My dad was a businessman, a trader. He ran a retail store. He was an 8th standard dropout from school. So first generation entrepreneur, started from scratch. And he was a very, very strict father. During my university days, my college would get over by 4 p.m. and he would have a restriction that by 4:30 p.m. I am at the store. And I played the role of a retail sales representative in his store. I hated that as a teen. I hated my dad for putting me through that kind of an experience. But when I was about to graduate, he told me one thing, that you're not going to take a job. You are going to start something of your own. And he kind of put me in the spot to be an entrepreneur. And the only thing that I knew was training and coaching because I built a youth organization prior to that during my university days with a couple of friends. So I said, okay, I worked with college students so far on training and coaching. Let's take training and coaching services to corporate organizations. And I forgot the fact that I'm a 20-year-old kid and no large corporate organization would be open to learning from a 20-year-old kid back then. So I had about 102 rejections before I cracked my first client. And that happened.
What was it like getting 102 rejections?
Well, not an easy experience for sure. It was painful. But I think my dad played a very, very big role in just keeping me going. He said that, you know what, you just got to play till it works out for you. You can't give up on your business and say it's not working out. Don't judge it too early. Just play till it works out.
When was like the moment that you thought that this was going to be a success or a failure?
In all honesty, the first business was the training and coaching company, which is Quantum Leap. And for the first 9 years, things didn't work out. We had clients, but as business partners and founders, we were not making money. But we were just going with the flow. I mean, there's so much that you read about and get influenced through videos and positivity that you feel like you just got to keep it going. So it really started clicking, I would say, 9 years after being in the business. Through my journey, what I've had is like 2 failed ventures. So I started my first venture, which was the training and coaching organization for corporates back in 2006, 2007. Then in 2009, I started a recruitment business. And the only reason behind starting the recruitment business was that we had this huge human resources executive network, and we thought we can leverage that for providing recruitment services. So we started the recruitment business in 2009. At the same time, we also started an outsourcing project management company where we were working, where we were hand-holding call centers and doing quality audits and onboarding campaigns for them from across the world. So that was my third venture, which was an outsourcing company. And I started a fourth company in 2010, which was an event management company. Now, if I look back, in 2012, I had to shut the outsourcing business down, and I had to shut the recruitment business down. That's when I went into this financial loss, which was close to 4.5 million Indian rupees. I was in a debt of 4.5 million Indian rupees. And that was the stage where I kind of look back and say that the intention behind a couple of those businesses, I think, was not right. It was more like there was an opportunity and we jumped into it without having any strategic vision. So that was a lesson that anything that I pick or anything an entrepreneur does should be based on a strategic vision and not just an opportunity. I think my biggest lesson has been that talented people never run out of opportunities. It's what you say yes to and what you say no to that matters a lot. So that was probably the biggest learning that I've had. And then from 2012 to 2014, for 22 months, because I was in debt, I was desperate. I tried every single shortcut to make quick money so that I could repay people. That didn't work out as well. So till 2014, October, I was just hoping, wishing, and praying. Probably living in denial as well, because when you call yourself an entrepreneur, there's too much ego that gets attached to that word, and you don't really question your capabilities, and you don't really see that, okay, am I really a competent entrepreneur or not? So for me, till 2014, it was desperation. It was trying to make things work, and that's when I kind of had this huge confrontation with myself that, hey, you know what, I need to learn how to build a business. I probably don't know how to build a business. And that's what set me on a learning journey. So I went across India and I interviewed 300 CEOs who built some of the largest brands across the country. And my intention of these interviews was to understand the psychology of building a scalable business and the systems of building a scalable business. And these 300 interviews actually changed my life, because I was learning from the best. I was learning from people who'd started from nothing and had taken companies to IPOs, had built brands which had massive geographical presence across the country. So that was the turning point of my life. I started integrating the learnings from these interviews into my training business and my events company. And things started working out well. And I took all these lessons and put it as a part of a book. And I launched the book in 2016 Feb. And from there, I always say the universe has been kind, because I did the book just for family and friends. And the book kind of got picked off the shelf by a lot of entrepreneurs, and that's what got me into entrepreneurship coaching and business coaching, because people started reaching out and they started saying, hey, can you help me implement what you've spoken about in the book? So that's been the journey in a snapshot.
Yeah, excellent. What's the name of the book, and what's the main thing you want people to get out of this book?
The title of the book is Lead or Bleed. And the idea is that, if you don't lead in your business, you're going to bleed in your business. So that was the basic idea. And what I really want people to get out of this book is that most entrepreneurs are driven by perfection. They are freaks of perfection, and they end up doing everything in their business. And that's the reason why they are not able to scale it up. And my biggest lesson has been that anybody who's built a scalable business is not the most intelligent person on their team. And most entrepreneurs are very proud of being the most intelligent person on their team. And for me, what I've seen is that when you're the most intelligent person on your team, the buck stops at you. So the key is to actually focus on building strategies, building systems, building committed and competent teams in every single department of your business. That's the job of the entrepreneur. But most entrepreneurs don't look at building these strategies, don't look at building systems and teams. They just focus on doing sales, and then they enjoy the process of delivering the operation side of their business because it's largely their passion. So that for me was my biggest lesson, and that is also the essence of the book.
Do you think anyone can be an entrepreneur?
So I think everybody should give it a shot, because I'll tell you what, the question you asked me is a little tricky, because you can't profile people, because if you look at the type of entrepreneurs who are successful, each one are so different, so distinct. So I would say that I think it takes that one single trait that each one of us has that can take us all the way in our business, right? So I don't think you can draw a frame and say that only if you are a great innovator, you can be an entrepreneur, or only if you are a great salesperson, you can be an entrepreneur, or only if you are, say, an effective people manager, you can be an entrepreneur. I think we have cases in the world that we live in of people who've built a very, very successful business based on 2 or 3 key strengths that they possess. So I think if a person is able to match their core strengths and capabilities with a problem that is there in the market, then that's good enough to become an entrepreneur.
Interesting stuff. You mentioned strategies. Have you got examples of strategies then that work?
Well,
our listeners.
I think one of the core strategies that I focus on with businesses today is what I call a win-win-win strategy. Look, we've all heard of the win-win philosophy of doing business, which largely came about, I would say, in the first decade of the new millennium, where companies started going out to their customers and saying that we believe in the win-win philosophy, where the customer should win and we as an enterprise should win. But what I feel today is that any business has 3 stakeholders that it has to serve. It has to serve the customer, it has to serve the team members, and it has to serve the business owners. So for me, it's also spelling out what is the win for the team members, the financial growth that they desire, the career growth that they desire. What is the win for the customer, the value that the customer desires, and what is the win for the entrepreneur, the growth ambitions that the entrepreneur has. And when you tie these 3 up and you create a flat organization where there is clear roles, clear goals, clear career growth pathways, and you use your organization as a vehicle to fulfill people's dreams and aspirations, I think in today's era, that's the most relevant way of building a scalable enterprise. Because I always give this analogy to people that the world of business has had 3 revolutions. The first revolution was the industrial revolution, where the person with the capital probably started an industry or a factory, provided jobs. And that was an era where the workforce came to work because they had a need for survival. And there were not many opportunities. So that was the era where the philosophy was boss is always right. Whether your employer would abuse you, beat you up, you would still not quit the job, right? Because what you wanted was survival. Then from there, the IT boom happened, the information and technology revolution happened, and suddenly the need of the workforce from survival moved to standard of living. As long as they were getting good salaries to pay their home loans and their car EMIs and their children's education, people were happy to come to work. And this was the era where the focus was not on survival, it was on standard of living, because survival was taken care of by their parents. Now, I believe that even the information revolution has died. We live in an era where it is the social revolution. Today's workforce does not come to work because they desire a standard of living. Their parents have taken care of the standard of living piece. Today's workforce comes for a sense of challenge, for a sense of learning, for a sense of rewards. And this is a high risk, high return generation of workforce where they're willing to take the responsibility, but they also want to be rewarded for results. So in today's era, if you're not integrating your team's aspirations in your business strategy, then you actually are using an outdated model of just being customer focused, which is not the winning strategy today, according to me.
So you've been doing this for a long time now. What's the one main question that you get asked a lot?
I think one most common question that a lot of entrepreneurs ask me is, how do I stand out from the competition? For some strange reason, people are so threatened of competition that they want to figure out an answer. And my response to that kind of question is that the key is to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. And to define things in the most simplest and the most specific manner. One of the things that I see with entrepreneurs is that they have a fear of losing out on opportunities if they define that their strength is something specific. So they want to be broad. But I think today we live in a world where people rather work with an expert who can do one thing right rather than work with a generalist who can do too many things in an average manner. So my quest with entrepreneurs is always to help them define what is that one thing that their customer cannot buy from anybody else. And the moment a business is able to define that, I think then the marketing, the sales, the messaging to the team, everything becomes so much more clear and specific.
Cool. Who actually coaches you then?
I have a couple of coaches. So one of my mentors, his name is Blair Singer. He's based out of Phoenix, Arizona. And a lot of the facilitation and training skills that I picked up are from Blair. I also have a spiritual coach who's based out of London. Her name is Sidra Jaffrey. She opens my mind to a whole new different world of energy. So that's one work that I love learning more about. So these are the two mentors that I have currently that I work with.
And you must have some like favorite business people that you look up to.
Absolutely. One of my favorite business people is this gentleman by the name Ashok Soota here in India. What inspires me most about Ashok Soot's journey is that he started off as the CEO of Wipro Systems, which is one of India's largest IT company, and he took it from a turnover of 2 million to 200 million. And then from there, he started his own venture, Mindtree. He took Mindtree to a successful IPO. And then at the age of 68, because he had a different vision for where Mindtree should go, and that did not align with his board, he moved out of the business which he built to start another company at the age of 68, which was called Happiest Minds Technologies. And for me, just the fact that at the age of 68, a man who's probably aced out every single battle that there is in business still wants to start something of his own is inspiring. And he made Happiest Minds become India's fastest company to reach $100 million run rate. So he's someone that I really look up to, very humble, very grounded, very down to earth, but extremely hardworking and focused. So he's someone that a lot of people don't really talk about because he's not like a very media friendly and PR driven kind of personality, but a silent hero, according to me, in the world of business.
So it seems you're pretty successful. Would you consider yourself successful?
I would say I'm getting started. Like the journey of success has started, but I think calling this success would be undermining the potential that me and my team have on the journey that we've set out for ourselves. We are doing fairly well. I wouldn't just try to be modest on this, but I would say that it is the beginning. There is a whole new world of opportunities that we are seeing for ourselves, which we did not even envision or imagine. I would be a liar if I said that this was my vision. It's just unfolded in a manner where it blows my mind every day how far we've come.
What would success look like for you then?
So I think for me, if I look at where we are at today and what we can do, today we are supporting about 500 entrepreneurs across 6 countries in Asia on a day-to-day basis to help them scale up their business. I have a team of 25 full-time business coaches. We have, and our business coaching format is not just restricted to a coach having a conversation with you about how you're feeling, what are your goals for the coming week. It's not that. Our business coaching runs on the framework of strategies and systems for every single department of the entrepreneur. So there are proven strategies and systems that we are teaching them. So with where we are right now, the next step is going to be to integrate technology into our work so that we make our work more scalable and not just limited to the bandwidth of the coaches. So that is the journey that we are starting this year. And the definition of success for me would be when we are able to significantly contribute to the GDP of the country. And we are setting up those kind of measurement metrics to be able to see how many jobs are the entrepreneurs whom we are coaching, how many jobs are they creating while we are coaching them, what is the kind of taxes they are paying, what kind of patents are they applying for, what kind of products are getting created. So we are setting up a very holistic measurement mechanism where the data will be tracked live as and when the entrepreneurs make changes in their business through our business coaching. So for me, that's the next milestone.
It seems pretty full on as an entrepreneur, but what about work-life balance then?
I'm a freak of work-life balance. For me, I'm very, very clear that work is a part of my life and it's not my life. I love travel. So that's one of the things that actually drives me to go to work, because me and my wife together, we set goals on investing, set goals on savings, we set goals on travel and experiences we want to go through. So we are very, very proactive about taking care of our health. So we have a clear regime of doing yoga thrice a week. We work out with a conditioning coach twice a week. We play badminton once a week. I play cricket once a week, and then we vacation at least 3 international locations thrice in a year. So I'm high on work-life balance. In fact, one of the things I tell people is that most people live an or life. They think it's either your business or your relationships or your health. And I find that paradigm very, very restrictive, that you can either have this or you could have that. So I always say to people that it's about living an and life. It's about working on your wealth, working on your career, working on your health, working on your relationships. It's all an and just the pursuit of it keeps you excited. So that's the way I see things.
But when you're on holiday, do you read emails?
Not really. Actually, even when I'm at work, I don't read too much emails. I'm most of the time on social media, just chatting with people and responding to queries of entrepreneurs. So I'm not an email person.
But
either ways.
Would you be doing work, say, on your holiday?
No, I wouldn't do that. No. It's just taking time off completely.
What you like as a cricketer?
I love batting.
Okay.
I'm a selfish batsman.
What's your highest score?
No, I play like street cricket, like 20 over matches that we play. So if I get in a 30 or a 40, it's a good day on the field.
Okay. You actually did a TEDx talk as well.
Yep.
Talk that went well. Talk about
that. So I think for me, when I got the opportunity to speak on TED as a platform, what I wanted to do was put out that how self-employment is actually a trap for entrepreneurs. And that's where I spoke about 4 mistakes that most entrepreneurs make in the journey of entrepreneurship. The first one being that a lot of entrepreneurs I see, they start with their business with a big vision. But when they face the ground realities and they face the challenges and they don't have solutions to those challenges, they kind of accept the reality as a way of life. Be it, for example, a lot of entrepreneurs don't take money for themselves from their own business. And they feel that is investing in the vision. But till when would you invest in the vision? Some people I know for years just keep going. The company pays some bills of their survival and that's just it. So I spoke about the mistake of hopeful optimism, where most people feel that someday, somehow, something dramatic will happen and life will change. So I looked at that as one mistake. I also shared the mistake where if an entrepreneur is the best on their team, the most competent person on their team, it's the worst for the business because everything is dependent on the entrepreneur. Then I also spoke about the mistake entrepreneurs make when it comes to hiring. A lot of entrepreneurs I see are reluctant in hiring because they look at hiring as an expense. And I always say to them that if you look at hiring as an expense, then not hiring is more expensive, because whatever you would delegate to the person you would hire to, you are ending up doing it. So not hiring as a mistake, or looking for cheap talent. I think these are some basic fundamental mistakes that entrepreneurs make that keep them in this trap of self-employment, where everything is dependent on them and they're not really growing, but they're just playing the game for month-to-month survival. And then I put out the last mistake, where a lot of entrepreneurs actually are service professionals for their customer, and they are focusing more time on their customer rather than focusing time inside the business, where they need to build the team systems and strategies. So that was the framework of the TEDx talk that I did.
Yeah, because you mentioned the customer is not king.
Yes, I truly believe that the customer is not king. I feel that we live in a world today where if you place anybody at a pedestal higher than yourself, that's like shooting yourself in the foot. When you are serving the customer in operations, treat him like a king, add more value. But in the process of sales and marketing, if you're keeping the customer at the level of a king, then who are you? Are you a desperate slave who's going to be willing to do whatever the customer asks you to do? I just don't find that as a fair equation. And in fact, I just recently did a Facebook Live where the topic of my Facebook Live was that customers also need ethics in today's world. Today, we live in an environment where there's nothing called customer loyalty or brand loyalty. Today, wherever a customer gets discount or they get a convenient way out, I work with so many businesses that are in the B2B space, and they always say that the customer took their designs, their concept, their idea, and got it executed from someone else. So for me, I'm a strong advocate of having a relationship that is based on mutual respect, mutual trust, and mutual benefit. And that can only happen if you treat a customer like a professional friend, someone you care about, someone you are clear and candid to, someone you can add value to. So I prefer businesses having a more casual tone with their customers and treat them like a professional friend rather than have a formal tone and place the customer at an elevated level of a king.
So when it comes to motivations in businesses, is it just money? Is that the bottom line then? Is that what you advise your clients?
No, I would say that, look, money is definitely a critical parameter for measuring your progress because, we are living also in an environment where spirituality is very, very accessible. Today, anybody can download an app and listen to a spiritual meditation and start levitating and feeling spiritual. I'm not a believer of that kind of false spirituality as well. So I understand when people say money is not everything in life, but I also tell people that don't say the words money is not everything in life till you've made the money, because otherwise you're using it as an excuse to cover up your incapability of making that money. So for me, money is a critical measure. It's a critical means. It's definitely not the end. But I would say the bigger goal is growth. The bigger goal is progress. And there's no limitation to growth and progress, which means, are we delivering in a better manner than we were delivering yesterday? Are we happier than what we were yesterday? So for me, growth and progress is more important rather than a goal or a milestone or just money, but money is a critical means for sure.
Last few questions then. For first time founders then, what should they be focusing on?
I would say the first thing first-time founders need to focus on is providing products and services that people are willing to spend their money on. I see a lot of people coming up with ideas today only to realize that they are fascinated by the idea, but their customer is not even excited about putting their hands in their wallet and removing the money. So to be able to provide products and services which either fulfill a desire or solve a significant problem for which people are willing to spend their money on. I think that's the first thing an entrepreneur needs to get right, that provide something that people are willing to spend their money on. And then the second thing is structure the business in a manner where it is scalable. So you need to ask yourself, what's your route of scale? Is it the technology? Is it large geographical expansion? Is it a distribution channel? What is your vehicle for scale? Because if your business is not scalable, there's no point doing business. I mean, you rather be in a job and live off a consistent monthly income. If you're stepping into the game of business, I always say this: business is not for monthly survival, it's for wealth creation. And wealth creation is possible only when you build something scalable. So that's the second thing, to create a business model which is scalable. And then from there, the rest follows, like building a second line team of leaders, making sure there are clear strategies and systems in every single department of your business. These would be my basic core elements of building a successful business.
How do you deal with failure? Because obviously a lot of businesses do fail. You failed a few times.
Yep.
Do you take it personally, or does it not bother you? Advice?
I would lie if I would say that it didn't bother me. It did. And I think what I realized was that the first step to bouncing back out of failure is to forgive yourself. Some of us who believe in ourselves, when things don't work out the way we want them to work out, we come down too hard on ourselves. It's almost like we inflict so much blame and guilt on ourselves, saying, how could I do this? So I think letting go starts with forgiving yourself, to accept that you're a human being, you're imperfect, you're bound to make imperfect judgments, you're bound to make mistakes. And I think with the last round of failure that I had, which was financially pretty significant for me and my family, now I've become immune to failure. It kind of doesn't intimidate me that much anymore. So that I think has shifted. So my only thing to entrepreneurs who are probably struggling at this point or are in the midst of a failure is, all I would say is just, you got to keep playing. And you got to keep playing, and you got to keep learning. Sometimes some of us don't question ourselves and our approach. If you're not getting the results that you desire, then you got to look inside, not outside. So that self-reflection and learning is a very, very important element for me.
Awesome stuff. Last question then, for people who want more information on you and your coaching business, what must they do?
Well, they could subscribe to my website, rajivtalreja.com. It's RAJIVTALREJA.com. And I'm pretty proactive on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. So it all goes by the name Rajiv Talreja. So they could reach out to me in any of these forms and I respond to messages personally.
Rajiv, thank you for coming on the show today. It's been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neil, for having me on the show.
Thanks to Rajiv for coming on the show today. Thank you for listening and supporting the podcast. I shall be back next week. And if you're building something exciting, please send me an email, hello@neilpatel.co, or tweet at Indian Startup SH, or go to facebook.com/Indian Start Show. Love to connect. Thank you and goodbye.